Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the ZALA Shift podcast. This is a little bit of an unplanned episode, but it feels like a little while since I've done one, and I can't explain why, despite the stress of assignment deadlines. For those of you that don't know, I'm in the process of doing my master's in coaching psychology. Despite the stress of that and actually heading out the door pretty soon, it seemed like the perfect time to do this episode. And it was really inspired by a lot of conversations that I've been having in my DMs and a couple of story posts I've been seeing go about. And that is just that feeling of being in a little bit of a rut. And I think it's even heavier right now because we are 3 weeks into January at the time of recording. And there is this feeling that you should be flying right now. You should be smashing it. We went into the year with such high hopes, such high expectations, and 2025 was such a tough year for so many of us that we went into the year convinced that this year would be different, that this year would be our year. We had so many big goals and so many aspirations that when things don't quite go to plan, and January has been a really tough year for a lot of people, a tough year, a tough month for a lot of people. When things don't go to plan, we can give ourselves a really hard time. And we are even more focused on that contrast because we had such high expectations. Not only that, but we know January is just about the longest month out there. People tend to socialize a lot less. And again, we've also got increased pressure, a lot going on social media. So it can feel like a really, really heavy month. So I just wanted to film this episode because if you are feeling in a little bit of a rut, you're feeling a little bit lost, I really hope this is just going to help you really put it into perspective, give you a little bit of a spark back, and really realign you as we get going towards the end of the month and as we get closer and closer to February. And for those of you that are a little bit woo-woo and like all of that side, closer to the horse year as well, and really, really starting the new year in the best way possible and the best mindset possible, making sure that we are just letting go of anything that does need to be left behind in January. Because, like I said, I know a lot of people have had a really, really tough first month of the year, but we will not let it continue. So, welcome back to the ZALA Shift podcast. I am a women's mindset coach and NLP coach, and I help women that have been stuck operating on shoulds, coulds, and musts just really come back to them and find their spark again and what really lights them up, alongside elevating their identity to not just who they thought they could be, but who they know they deserve to be. So if you are feeling like right now these same patterns are showing up time and time again, you are falling back into old habits that you promised yourself you were going to leave behind last year, you just can't seem to get the momentum going, you can't seem to get things moving forward, then this episode is going to explain exactly why, what is going on for you, and most importantly, ensure that you leave this episode with a really, really, really clear plan of action of what you need to do to break the rut and ensure this doesn't carry on. So first and foremost, like, what even else is a rut? What does that actually mean to us? A lot of the time it is that feeling where we are just flat. We don't know what it is, but we are not moving forward. We're feeling stagnant. Those old behaviors and cycles are creeping back in. Those beliefs that you promised yourself you would never tell again are creeping up. You're suddenly thinking, what's the point? I could never really do this. Why did I even bother? Why did I try? And you're suddenly just feeling really stuck. So the signs to kind of look out for are that lack of motivation, all of the things that you normally enjoy, you're not really bothered about. All of the goals that you were so excited for, you're struggling to stay consistent with. You're falling into the same self-sabotaging patterns. You're doom scrolling when you promised yourself you would stop. You're comparing to other people's Instagram stories when you said you were going to mute them so you didn't see them anymore. You are, what else are we doing? You are looking at all of your unread WhatsApp messages, even though you promised yourself this year would be the year you stopped avoiding things. You're struggling to concentrate every time you sit down to work on that really big goal you have. You are just hit with a massive wall and a mental block. This is going to be the episode you need to actually move past that. If that is you, keep listening, girl. I need you here. So let's talk a little bit about the science behind why this rut actually happens. And most importantly, like, the fact that you need to know you're not broken for this. You're not failing. It doesn't mean you're not going to achieve your goals. It is actual science, the reason we fall into that pattern. And that is, your brain is wired towards safety. The reason I've spoken about it in so many episodes before is because it is the truth. Your brain is just designed to keep you going on default. That is what your brain wants. It wants to know exactly what is going to happen, when and why, so that it can keep repeating the same old habits. Nobody wants to walk into a room when they don't know what's in the room. It feels scary and daunting, and that's exactly what your brain is thinking. Your brain is thinking, God, I don't want to open that door because I don't know what's behind that door. I know I say I want this goal, but who the hell am I when I'm at that goal? Can I even hold that goal? Is that goal going to leave me burnt out again? And so as a result, your brain craves pulling you back into your comfort zone, into the patterns that it knew all along. So every time you start to stretch yourself, your brain goes, hey, no thank you. And you all of a sudden, all of the behaviors that you promised yourself you would cut out have crept back in, and your brain goes, right, that is better. That is exactly what I want. Because even if you're not quite happy where you are, at least you're safe, at least you're comfortable, and at least your brain knows how you're going to feel. It's not worried about what people are going to think. It's not worried about who's looking. It knows exactly what is happening. Self-limiting beliefs start creeping up again. The belief that you can't really do this, that you're not good enough, that people are going to judge you, or people are going to think you're stupid, whatever it might be. These self-limiting beliefs are built on previous evidence blocks, and your brain latches onto previous evidence as a chance to think about what's going to happen in the future. And it does these, and it holds these so deeply as a way of keeping you safe and protecting you, even when they don't serve you anymore. Because your brain is worried that if you keep pushing through, people might look at you differently. Or your brain is worried that if you fully give something all of your heart and attention, that you might fail. And that is so much worse than not trying at all, your brain thinks. So these self-limiting beliefs just crop up as a way to keep you safe, keep you playing small, because it feels so much more comfortable. What I need you to remember right now is that the past does not predict the future. What's happened before is not what's going to happen in the future, but only if we decide to choose differently. Because your brain is trying to keep you repeating on the same old loop. By the time we're 35, 95% of your behaviors are subconscious. If that is not the most terrifying wake-up call to how much we have to practice awareness and conscious change, then I don't know what is. And then the avoidance. So many of the women I work with, so many of the women I speak to are so guilty of this. I used to be the biggest avoider in the world. Emails would pile up, messages would pile up. It would take me so much to use my voice to raise what I was not comfortable with, what I was not happy with, what my standard was. And so as a result, people would walk all over me. And I would end up living a life that was not in alignment with my goals. So emotional avoidance, where do you even avoid looking at things because you're so scared of breaking that safety cycle that you have built so long? Where are you avoiding the real goal? Where are you avoiding doing the work? Not to mention as well, we often get really, really caught up in the externals, everything that's outside of our control. And realistically, there are so many things that are going to be outside of your control. You cannot handle, for example, what your boss says to you. If your partner brings something up, if you get ill, what stress happens, your car breaking down, there are so many things that you cannot handle. Life is going to happen to you regardless. If you've had the most stressful month ever, that is evidence that life is going to happen regardless. But do you know what you can always do? You can control how you respond. So for example, me recording this podcast, I've already shared, I'm in the midst of assignment deadlines. I am leaving the house soon. I could use that as an excuse to not record the podcast. However, my goal this year is to really, really help women feel like the freaking best version of them, and to help women on the most meaningful and deep level that I possibly can. And so if I use the excuse that I'm stressed in assignments and that I am, I'm rushing out the door and I haven't got time, would that serve me? No, I'm getting caught up on any externals and I'm not focusing on what I can still do. Maybe this episode is a bit shorter. Maybe this episode is a little bit more on the fly. But I would rather share that story and that meaning and get it out to you ladies than I would let the externals control me. Because at the end of the day, the more I tell myself I'm stressed, the more stressed I am going to get. The more I focus on what I'm in control of, making a plan for what I need to do, the more I focus on my actions and how I move forward, then that is going to make everything so much easier. So really, really ask yourself right now, are you taking responsibility for what you can take responsibility for? Are you showing up with your best intention when everything else in life is stressful? Like I said, you can't control what happens, but I can promise you right now, if you just focus on how you can respond, things are going to go so much smoother for you and you are going to get the results that you are after, okay? So, like we've touched on already briefly, why is this actually happening? Why are we falling into the rut? Partly because your brain is made up of pathways. So every habit you follow, even the ones you don't want, form a pathway in your brain. The more times you go over this pathway, the stronger and stronger this pathway is getting. So it almost becomes automatic. You barely even think, what do you do first thing in the morning? You say you go and brush your teeth. You don't notice you're doing it. You do it because it's such a strong pathway. So even the negative habits like picking your phone up first thing in the morning, doom scrolling, stopping at the shop for a chocolate bar, whatever it might be, your brain forms a pathway and it keeps repeating this pathway. And often these behaviors that we don't want, they actually do serve you. Stopping for a chocolate bar, for example, serves you because it gives you an immediate comfort. Doom scrolling serves you because it gives you distraction. So these habits that we don't want do still serve you, and therefore we keep repeating them. And when we're stressed, when we're feeling a bit flat, when we're in that belief that nothing is going our way, it is so much easier to default back to these old loops because they're going to be stronger than the new habits that you've been working to build. That doesn't mean your new habits aren't there, but the pathways just aren't quite as trampled down now. You haven't gone over them as many times, so they require more conscious effort. Like we said, 95% of your behaviors are on autopilot. So we have to really, really pay attention and zone in. And a lot of the time, when we start to feel flat, we start acting in a much more of a reactive way. We get more emotional, we get more frustrated, we get guilty perhaps for not showing up how we wanted to. And therefore, we react in that emotional state, which normally isn't in alignment with our goals. It's normally much more in a chaotic note, more than anything else. And it actually often takes us further away from our goals when we act in a reactive state. So I want you to ask yourself right now on a day-to-day basis, are you being reactive? Or are you being responsive? Have a good think about that because that question can be like mind blowing. And then again, what are we doing behaviorally? What behaviors do we need to focus on a day-to-day basis? Where are you holding on to behaviors that are not in alignment with the version of you that you're trying to become? For example, maybe right now you're sleeping until 8 a.m. and realistically, one of your goals is to get in the best shape possible this year. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is getting a workout done in the morning. Therefore, we know something needs to change. Your behaviors have to act up. We can't just manifest, we can't just will our way to change. Yes, we need to be having that right mindset, but you also have to act like the version of you that already has it. Nobody else is going to make the podcast for me. Nobody else is going to show up on my socials for me. That has to be me putting myself out there. And that is the same for you. Whatever opportunities you are trying to create, that has to be you showing up for you, putting yourself out there and creating it for you, okay? Now, being in a rut is normal. Like I said, your brain is just wanting to keep you in that safe place, but you know deep down that you want more. So we get this disconnect from the version of us that is so desperate to achieve these goals, that is so freaking excited for the goal and the vision that she has. But then you've got this current version of you that almost just can't quite picture it. She doesn't understand. And so we get caught up staring at this gap thinking, how the hell am I going to get there? So this rut is normal. It is a signal that we need to really be conscious in how we are changing things. And if you're feeling a little bit lost in that, you're feeling so overwhelmed with it, I offer 60-minute clarity calls. So there is literally no tie-in, but it is 60 minutes to get you back on the right path, to take all of the guesswork out. Because when you're doing it alone, oh my God, does it feel so much heavier? And it is about showing you the pathways that have been operating under the surface without you even realizing, and making sure you know exactly the steps you need to do to move forward, okay? How are we going to break this? How are we going to leave this rut so far behind that it doesn't even feel like part of you anymore? Because we're not even a month into 2026. So do not let it be the thing that defines you. Do not start telling yourself that it is going to be a bad year. Do not start telling yourself that there's no point, because the minute you even entertain that thought, no, we are not having it this year. We are having the belief that there is no other option but for it to be the best year. And the only reason that is going to happen is because you're going to have that rock solid conviction that there is no other possibility but for it to be the best year. And it is that simple, okay? Because when you have that belief in that thought, you are going to show up with a completely different energy. Even when life is throwing a load of shit at you and you are pulling your hair out, you are still going to have that belief. Because to show up with true conviction does not mean just showing up with conviction on the days that are good. It doesn't mean showing up on conviction on the days you get opportunity. It means showing up regardless, even when things feel like they're going AWOL. Because like we said, it's about being responsive, not reactive, not changing the plan because the external changes. And it is continuing that mission in alignment with your goals. So first things first, where are you actually starting to fall into old patterns? And I want you to get really clear on not just where are you falling into old patterns, but what are they showing you? What did these old patterns mean to you? How are these old patterns protecting you? Because what we often don't think about is that actually every old pattern, habit, and behavior you have in some way has been designed to support you. even the ones that we absolutely hate that we do. Maybe, for example, you bite your nails, and this seems like such a random one, but maybe you bite your nails. Often people bite their nails because they're anxious or they're stressed. So although it seems like surely there's nothing to benefit from biting your nails, actually biting your nails is a way to reduce anxiety and to release your stress, even if it's not the most conducive or healthy way that we want to be doing it. So I want you to really recognize right now, what are all of those negative habits that you are carrying right now? Write them down, every single one, all that you can think of. And now I want you to ask yourself, for each of those negative habits, how is it serving you? What are you getting from those habits? What is the reason that we keep carrying them out and repeating them, even though we know we don't want them? Now, based on this, based on your negative habits, what could you do in place? How could you replace each negative habit? How could you meet that need? Because when you just try and take away something that is actually giving you comfort, joy, distraction, whatever it might be, that is so much harder. Whereas if instead, first and foremost, we just focus on how do we meet the need that you need, that is going to make it so much easier for you, okay? And again, that awareness, I feel like every single episode, I will talk about awareness in some sense or format. And that is absolutely because awareness is, if you are not aware, you cannot change anything. If you don't know what the problem is, you cannot change anything. And your subconscious is really sneaky. These things often operate under the surface without you even realizing. We don't consciously decide to just give up on our goals. We don't go, sod it, I'm just not going to do it anymore. These things happen so sneakily under our surface, and we don't realize what we start doing that causes us to go down that rut. We don't just wake up one day. It tends to be a very, very gradual thing that happens. Next, I want you to look at any times you failed. Think back to all of those failures that you've had in the past. Often we carry so much guilt around them, and that guilt sits in that pit of our stomach, and it stops us moving forward. It stops us doing anything. And because we're holding this guilt, we get so caught up and angry in ourselves that it stops us moving forward. And instead, I really want you to know, and I really want you to look at these moments and think that actually these are all lessons. All of these moments, the hardest moments, they had to happen. They had to happen. As much as that sucks, they had to happen because they taught you so much and they have shaped you so much into the woman that you are becoming. You needed these moments. And so what I want you to do is I want you to go and look at those moments that have been playing on your mind, that you've been beating yourself up about. And I want you to look at them with new eyes. And I want you to ask yourself, what are the lessons you can take from them? What does this mean about you now? How does this mean that you need to show up? And no negativity in that. I want you to look for the lessons, because if that version of you hadn't happened, you wouldn't be this version of you now. And there is a reason everything happens, even if we can't see it in the moment. The hardest moments make you. I promise you this right now. But we have to go into it with the right mindset and not let the guilt carry you forward, because I've seen so many people get stuck on their journey because they are so caught up in the past. And that was me for such a long time. I would avoid making decisions because I was so frustrated that I wasn't where I wanted to be. I was so frustrated that I hadn't done it sooner. And it just left more mess to clear up. So let yourself learn. Okay. Now I want you to focus on, I'm really, really big in believing that we can't have the mindset work without the action. We have to pair the woo with the do. We have to be embodying. We have to be showing ourselves that we are changing, because this builds new evidence in your brain. This shows your brain that you are doing things differently, that you are capable, that you are strong, and you are determined to make things different. So right now, whilst you listen to this episode, I want you to pick one thing that you can do right away. Ideally, like literally straight after this episode, maybe even whilst you finish listening, depending on what you're doing, that is going to take you one step closer to the version of you that you're becoming. And often we make decisions from the version of us we are right now. We play small, we play safe. And actually, I want you to think, if you're already the most confident version of you, the successful business owner, or the version of you that felt freaking incredible when she looked in the mirror, or the version of you that felt so in control of every area of her life, the version of you that had her spark back, whatever it might be for you, how does she show up? What does she do right now? What decision does she make after listening to the podcast? Tell me right now. And send me a message on Instagram. Let me know what you do. Let me know what you action from this, because action is the biggest thing. And that is why accountability often works so well. That is why mindset coaching helps you move forward 10 times faster than anything else, because you're not left to your own devices to let these old sneaky thoughts creep up and keep you playing in the same freaking patterns. So rely on support as well. Don't feel like you have to do it by yourself. I want you to speak out loud what you are doing, who you are becoming, because speaking out loud your goal means you're so much more likely to follow through on it. Often we don't tell people what we're doing because we're so scared that we won't achieve it. And straight away, we're almost letting that doubt take over. We're almost telling ourselves, well, what's the point? So tell your partner, tell your friends, let people in to support you, because if you are around the right environment, they will cheer you on and they will be your biggest supporters. And that will make it so much easier to keep going than just doing things by yourself. And the final one is, can you audit your environment? Look around you. What is it that's currently holding you back from who you want to be? Is it that the delivery app is on the front screen of your phone? Is it that you've signed up to a gym that's actually just too far away and it's not realistic? Is it that you need support? Maybe you're trying to post on social media, but you're lost with what to do. What is it that at the moment you need to adjust your environment to be in alignment with, like you said, who you want to be? If you were already at that future version, what would her environment look like? How would she set herself up for success? Think about her day-to-day motions. Where can you start adjusting to that right away? Obviously, we may not be able to change everything, but I can guarantee there are some small steps you can take right away. So, to recap, I want you to really identify one old pattern that is showing up for you and how that pattern is actually serving you secretly. Think about another way that you can meet that need. I want you to focus on one thing you can do straight after this episode and allow yourself at the end of the week to reflect on what you've done differently. Because again, allowing yourself to be proud and build that evidence will make it so much easier to keep going. I want you to know that the ruts you are experiencing, they are normal, particularly this time of year, they are normal, but we don't need to let them continue. We don't need to let it be part of our story. It doesn't need to mean anything. You're not failing, you're not a bad person, none of that. It is temporary, okay? Ruts are just a signal that growth is around the corner as long as we use this to help us move. Thank you so much for listening. This has sparked a little bit for you. If you're really after a little bit more support to make sure you just propel forward the rest of this year, I'll pop some information on how you can work with me in the description. If you've enjoyed the episode, please make sure that you subscribe and make sure that you give it a rating. I really appreciate it. And pop me a message and let me know if you listened. Thank you very much, everybody, and I will talk to you all soon. Okay, can I miss?